Here we are in the middle of the dog days of summer, and it is hot outside, I can tell you. That's why I am filming here inside my house where it's a lot cooler. So, I wanted to talk today about summer heat and the elderly because it is very difficult, or can be very difficult, for older adults to regulate their internal body temperature, which makes them much more susceptible to the heat. So, some of the reasons that they can be more susceptible to heat related illnesses is that, in general, as the body ages, it starts to become more difficult for it to regulate temperature. Sometimes there are chronic medical conditions like heart disease or diabetes that contribute to not being able to regulate temperature. Sometimes our internal regulators just don't, it's like the how do I want to say it? Like the thermostat just doesn't work as efficiently as it used to. Sometimes there's skin changes, and so the body just isn't able to sweat like it should or cool off the way that it should because of that. Differences in blood circulation can contribute as we age. Other factors can include things like just not being able to recognize our thirst signals. I can remember my father when he was in his middle 90s. He would literally drink a cup of coffee in the morning, and I'm talking like an 8-ounce cup, a cup in the evening when he had his dinner, and another glass maybe of water that was a small glass like that at lunchtime. And he would say he wasn't thirsty, and I would get on him and make him drink much more because he needed more fluid, but he just didn't feel thirsty. And another reason that can contribute is that some seniors have a cognitive impairment, which could be dementia or Alzheimer's, but it could even be a mild cognitive impairment, and it just means that they don't recognize the fact that they are thirsty, or they don't recognize the fact that it's really hot outside, and so they continue to carry on like they would um, under normal conditions, and that makes them way more prone to having a heat related illness. Humidity is a huge factor in the summertime. It's one thing to be hot in a place like Arizona where, you don't have that humidity. And I'm not saying that seniors in Arizona are less prone to problems. What I mean is that if you go to a place like Florida where it's hot and humid in combination in the summer, it can make it even worse for seniors who are trying to regulate body temperature. This is because the sweat, which is supposed to cool you down, it doesn't dissipate, it doesn't evaporate off of your body in a high humid condition. So it makes it much harder for your body to cool itself down. So, what temperature is too hot for a senior to be in? Well, that's a difficult thing to answer. There's not a hard and fast temperature that, once it's above this, you just absolutely shouldn't go outside. But generally speaking, it's in the 80-degree range. So if you have a senior or you are a senior who's in the mid 80s, especially in a high humidity condition, you want to make sure that you do as your best to stay inside if you can. And if you can't, if you're outside for other reasons, you want to make sure that you're doing the things that you can to keep cool. You want to be drinking. You want to be in the shade as much as possible. You want to take breaks. You want to wear a hat. You want to wear light clothing, light colored clothing, and light clothing, light fabric, so that you can stay as cool as possible. So, what are the symptoms of heat stress? Well, headaches are one thing. I know I've had times myself where I've been walking around in a hot condition, and even if I am drinking, sometimes you end up with a headache, and I know that that means I'd better drink some more. I'm a runner, and we've been in races before where the heat and the humidity combined together means that you're sweating so much that you're losing a lot of your electrolytes. So it's something to think about too. I know a lot of seniors are on a salt restricted diet, but they really need to be sure in the hot summer months that they are consuming something with electrolytes. So that may be a sports drink, or they do have electrolyte little tablets that you can get. A lot of the sports stores carry them. You can get them on Amazon. So that would be something to make sure that you are carrying with you if you are going to be out in the heat. Other signs of heat intolerance or heat stress are that you are sweating profusely, even if you're not active. So in other words, a senior who's, I don't know, at a picnic in a park and they're sitting at a picnic table in the shade and the sweat's just dripping off of them, it's too hot for them and their body is showing signs of heat stress. Another sign of heat stress is muscle cramps or muscle weakness. So maybe they can't walk as well, or maybe they're getting cramping in their legs. It means they're overheated and they need to get into somewhere cool as soon as possible. Other signs are confusion or being disoriented, having difficulty breathing, having swelling in your feet or your ankles. And really, if you see that, the person should be elevating their feet. And you should pay attention to it going away. You should see that it is reducing. If it's not going away fairly soon after they elevate their legs, you really need to get medical help for that. And another sign is a heat rash, which is it's a red rash, little tiny red bumps that can feel itchy or it can feel prickly, stingy, that kind of thing. The National Institute on Aging has a little thing on their website, a little paragraph on their website that talks about heat stroke, which is a dangerous condition. I mean, it's an emergency situation. And that's when the person's body temperature is higher than 104 degrees. You need to get emergency medical help now if that is something that has happened. Other signs of heat stroke are things like flushed skin. Again, that now this time dry skin, not the sweating, but the dry skin. So if you're in, 100-degree temperature and the person isn't sweating, that is a bad sign. Fainting and confusion are also signs, and also their pulse. It can be either a very rapid pulse or it can be a very slow, weak pulse. If you see any of these signs in an elderly adult, make sure you get medical attention as soon as possible for them. The other thing that you can do while you're waiting for medical help is to make sure that you try and get them to cool down a little bit. So if they can move indoors, if they're able to walk, or they're outdoors and there's an area nearby that has air conditioning, if you can get them in there, that's great. If not, if you have the availability of water, I mean, pour water on their shirt or pour it on, put some on their head, something that's going to be able to evaporate like that. You can use napkins or cloths to put water on and wipe their face, have them keep dabbing at their face and their neck, their arms, that kind of thing. Try and get some moisture on them, help them, something cool to help them cool down as fast as possible. And if they will drink some fluids, obviously, if you have some fluids that are cooler, that will help to lower their body temperature as well. So what are ways that seniors can stay cool in the summer? Well, just like anything, if you can stay indoors in the heat of it, if you have an extreme heat wave like this, obviously that's the best thing. But if you can't and you need to be outdoors for some reason, then try and find a cool, shady spot to be in most of the time. Try and stay out of the sun as much as possible. Don't engage in strenuous physical activity. I mean, don't be mowing the lawn at, 1 in the afternoon when it's almost at its hottest. Make sure you do that first thing in the morning or late at night when it has cooled down a little bit. Make sure to drink plenty of fluids. Make sure to wear colored, lightweight clothing. It's also a good idea to wear a hat to cover your head because that's going to keep the sun off of your head. Baseball caps, a broad-brimmed hat that will keep the sun off. You also want to wear sunscreen. That's going to help to shield your skin a little bit from the sun. And also, if you have a sunburn, it's another thing that's going to make it more difficult for your body to regulate temperature. So it's really a good idea to make sure that you are always wearing sunscreen. You want to drink fluids. Water is good. Again, though, a lot of the problem with being overheated comes from losing electrolytes and that, when you're sweating. And so drinking water does not replace those electrolytes. You have to have sports drinks or you have to have electrolyte tablets or something like that. So check into those for use during the summer. Obviously, if you can stay inside, as I said at the beginning of this, it's better to be in where the air conditioning is. But if you have to be outside, take a fan with you. They have those little fans that They're about so big, and you can put water in the bottom of them. They're battery operated, and you press the button, it'll spray the mist on your face, and that will help to cool you down. Now, if you're at home and you don't have air conditioning, the best thing you can do, if at all possible, is to spend the hottest part of the day in air conditioning. So maybe head for a local shopping mall and spend the hot part of the day there. Go to the movies, walk around in a grocery store. I mean, I know it is boring, but it's something that you really need to do when the heat is dangerously high. You also, if you don't have air conditioning at home and you need to rely on fans, make sure that you have clothing like they have cool shirts and things that you can get online. Those will help to cool you down. You can wet your clothing down so that you have the evaporation, and that will help to cool you, especially if you're sitting in front of a fan. You can also wet down towels, washcloths, things like that, and you can sponge your face and your chest, your arms, things like that, especially while sitting in front of a fan. And last but not least, don't forget your elderly neighbors. If you know of anybody who's an elderly person, please make sure in an extreme heat wave that you're checking on them to be sure that they're doing okay, that they are not having some kind of problems. So thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe down in the corner down here and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of our informative videos. Also, if you have a comment on a tip that I didn't think of to stay cool in the summer, please drop it in the comment section down below too. All these things help to keep the algorithm for our channel high so that we can spread our information to more and more people. So we appreciate your watching. Thank you very much again. Until the next video, stay cool. Thanks. Bye.